Stay home for Labour, isolate and solidarity. Let's get together on Zoom, see into people's bedrooms. We're all voyeurs for free. Stay home for Labour, with Crispin as your MC. Get used to the smell of your fragrant hand gel, hands like an ancient mummy. I said stay home for Labour, wave your toilet rolls in the air real quick. Have a laugh, have a sup, keep your spirits up, cause when this is all over, we've got some arses to kick. I said stay home for Labour.
Hello, welcome to Stay Home for Labour, our 17th show. It's good to see so many smiling faces, having just watched our new intro. And we've got a really busy show today. We've got lots of politics, but we've also got people who are doing good stuff during lockdown. And we've got music and comedy and poetry. And so I'm sure we'd just better get on with it, and I'd better stop talking. But the first thing that we'd like to talk about today is what we've all noticed in the media, and some MPs, former Labour MPs, and some, I think, present Labour MPs have been saying that teachers should stop getting in the way of schools reopening, even if it's not safe. So we had a discussion about this for 2 weeks with Rebecca Long-Bailey, but it doesn't seem to be going away. So I just wondered what the atmosphere was for teachers facing this kind of pressure. And we've got Louise back on the show, Louise Regan, and I'm hopefully, Louise, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Thank you for coming back again.
You're welcome.
A regular now. So what's it like being a member of the teachers union and having your work smeared by most of the national media and also some Labour comrades? What do you think? What do you think the future holds for this? Is this just going to go on and on until you give up, or are you still sticking to the 5 principles of why you're not going back to school until these things are sorted out? Do you want to tell us what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that. I mean, I just want to clarify, because you said again, you know, that we're being criticised and that schools about stopping schools reopening. A lot of schools are still open. They're open now. They're open for key worker children and for vulnerable groups. And, you know, there are some schools where virtually all of the children are in. So, you know, there are lots of schools up and down the country that are open, but there are children that aren't in school because, you know, they don't need to be in school at the moment. In terms of where we sit, I mean, we're very clear. We've been very clear about our 5 tests for a long time now, that they're important and that they are about protecting our members, but protecting the young people and the wider community as well. So we think it's, you know, it's really important that we stick to those 5 tests. We're not, you know, as educators, we're not unused to being criticised in the media. It's fair to say we're quite often condemned for various things. I think the government announcement shocked lots of people, not just people working in education, but parents and people in the community who thought, what is this all about? And if you look at it logically, it doesn't really make that much sense. And there isn't a lot of guidance about how we would open schools for reception, year 1 and year 6 children at the start of June. And that's why our members are anxious about that. I mean, the government announced that on Sunday, then on Monday said, oh, and we're opening nurseries too. You have to think about the practical issues that are involved in that for schools. So the government's been unclear about social distancing for children and young people, whether they think that's important or not. I'm not sure whether they do think it's important, but we think social distancing is important. We think it's important for adults, but we think it's important for young people. They talk a lot, they're very keen on hand washing I don't know how many of you have experience of getting a 3, 4, 5 or 6-year-old to wash their hands effectively, but it's not the easiest of tasks to do. So, you know, it's a worry. Getting on and off site is a worry. You know, how do we make sure that we get people in and out of school safely? For infant schools, the majority of their school will be returning with those year groups that have been suggested should be returning on the 1st of June. They're asking us to teach in smaller groups. But how can you do that if nearly all of your children are in? Your classes will be full. And PPE is obviously a big issue in terms of do we have it or don't we have it? What a lot of our members are raising, and rightly, is that they are worried. You know, the children that come back into schools are going to have a lot of anxiety. It's already difficult. If you've been a reception teacher, if you've been a nursery teacher, when young children start back after a break, they're often quite anxious anyway. They can get upset. You know, you have to do a lot of emotional support for them, cuddling them, looking after them, holding their hands. People are anxious about that. How can we do that if we're being told we shouldn't be having contact with them? How do we give that emotional support? And I suppose the other issue is yesterday we were told that the R rate is increasing. One of our key demands is about that R rate reducing. Yesterday we were told it's increasing, and that's a worry for us. The BMA, the British Medical Association, wrote a letter to our union yesterday saying they completely support our position, that it is too early to reopen schools, that the rate is not low enough yet. So we as a union want schools to open as soon as it is safe to do so. We want, you know, our members, all of the staff in schools want to be back into schools supporting children and young people. Of course we do. That's our job. That's what we want to do. But what we don't want to do is do that at the risk of increasing the rate, creating a second spike, putting additional pressure on the health services when we haven't got things in place to manage that effectively. I think it's really important that the government keeps saying that we're blocking them. They should consult with the unions. They should talk to the unions about how we can do this effectively, give us the evidence that they have, plan with us a safe return to schools for our children and young people. And we want to do that. We would want to work with them, but they have not done that. They have not been working with us.
Right. Well, that sounds like you know the government are just being inflexible and everyone's being unreasonable to the teachers. And I saw a little documentary about Denmark where they've got distancing in some playgrounds and stuff. And when people say children miss going to school, I mean, if they're in a playground where they've got ropes all around them and they're segregated, it doesn't sound like much fun to me in that situation anyway. So there's a lot of nonsense talks about what children want as well. They keep saying children can't cope, they need to go back. I don't think they really care about the children, to be honest, do they? It's just about getting the economy moving again, getting people working again.
Of course, children are missing their friends. I don't dispute that. A friend of mine posted something about his son and how he's really missing being with his friends. But if he comes back to school and has to stay inside a box and can't go near his friends to play with them when he's out on the playground, is that going to make him feel emotionally better? I'm not sure it is. It would be a very strange situation. And the Denmark situation that you've quoted, Denmark has a much, much lower infection rate than us, much lower. And they also did a huge amount of planning for that return to school, a huge amount of planning, and spoke to people working in the education system. And let's be clear, this isn't just about teachers returning to school. We have lots of support staff in schools, midday supervisors, site managers. There are lots of staff in schools that this is going to impact upon. And the other thing is that we should remember as well, there are lots of staff who won't be able to come back to school because they have got health needs that will prevent that. Young people might be coming back to a teacher they don't know, into a different classroom, because we're splitting up groups into smaller chunks. So they might be in a classroom they've never been in, they might be with a teacher they've never met before, or support staff they've never met before. And I saw an article yesterday where schools were saying that they were having to put away all the play equipment, because if we have play equipment out, we'll have to clean it every few hours to make sure that it's safe for children to use. So if we're bringing the very youngest children back in and then saying they can't even have play equipment out, how are they supposed to cope with that?
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming back. It does seem chaotic, and the way they're trying to blame teachers it's ridiculous. Passing the buck for their own problems, really. Thank you again, and I hope that we're all behind you. You know that. There's a lot of solidarity behind the teachers.
We've got letters and petitions. Keep signing them, keep sharing them, and keep talking to people. Okay. Well, thank you, Louise. Clive Lewis, are you there?
I am. I'm just doing a bit of research, just thinking about a few things. How are you?
I'm good. Now, look, I asked you to come on the show because we had a show on Wednesday. John McDonnell was on, and he denied that the Labour policy on rent during lockdown was that people would pay it back. This was something that was said by Thangam Debbonaire, that it was a continuation of the policy that existed under Jeremy Corbyn, and John McDonnell denied that. So I thought that we may have moved on to a different argument, but apparently Thangam has just come out and said it's un-Labour to think that we should support people who maybe can't pay their rent because they've just lost a job and would be asked to have that debt in 2 years. What's your take on
that,
on the whole issue here?
Yeah. Okay. So we can unpack a lot of things in this, and I will. And some of them you might like, some of them you might not. But let's just do it anyway. I think I honestly, hand on heart, couldn't tell you who was accurate in terms of the policy that came out from John Healey and Jeremy Corbyn. What I know is at that stage there was a lot of policy that was flying out from different shadow cabinet members and teams to respond to a very fast and rapidly moving situation. And to be quite frank, I couldn't off the top of my head say, yep, John's right, Thangam is wrong. That's, if you want me to say that, I can't, because I don't know. And I don't know what John is basing his argument on, just I don't know what Thangam is basing hers on. So I'm not going to get into that speculation. I'm sure someone, I'm only just say that, I'm sure someone can go back and look and we'll have the answer, Rob. So that's, I think that would be a good thing. I think that'd be a good thing.
He did say in the show, Google a particular speech from Jeremy and you'll see he was quite specific. He did point to a thing. But anyway, I don't want to go.
No. I think, but you know as well as I do, there can be differences between what a front bench position is and what an evolving speech that comes out. But you're right. It's not worth getting into. I think the issue here is that, and this is for me is the big issue, how we as a party and what we're seeing as signs of how we as a party are going to conduct ourselves in the coming weeks and months. What I would say is, I've come out and I've said people should join a rent union and that we as a party should be speaking up and out for renters who, through no fault of their own, now find themselves in a very precarious situation. And we should be asking, as the party of Labour, the people in the precariat, the people who need a voice in Parliament, we should be asking, why should that burden fall disproportionately over however long a period on the poorest and most vulnerable in our society? Landlords, yes, there's a variety of them. There are the Rackman-esque ones at the top, and then there are some who it's their pension payment each week, right? I don't want to stop them from having their pension payment, but we've got to find some kind of outcome, which means that those people at the bottom of the rung of the ladder who are forced out of work and who are renting don't pick up the tab for what's happened over the last 6 weeks. That's all I'm bothered about. What I don't want to see is anyone telling me what my Labour values are, or what is Labour and what isn't. I know what is Labour. I know what I stand for, and I know why I joined the Labour Party. I don't need anyone, left or right of the party, telling me what my Labour politics are and what is un-Labour and Labour when we're talking about social and economic justice. I don't need anyone telling me that. But I will listen to their arguments. I will listen to their arguments about the policies, and I can do that without calling them traitors or red Tories or scum, because this is the thing I wanted to say today. We've got a choice. We can, this group and other groups who are really upset about the fact that, Jeremy is now on the back benches, that Rebecca didn't win. The kind of choice, it's like a grieving process that people are going through. And in grief, you can go one of two ways. You can come through it stronger, or you can let it eat you up and the grief changes and destroys who you are. And I think what a lot of people have a choice of now in politics is to say to themselves, I want to take all the best bits of the Corbyn project and build on them. Because I think the mistake we're making is a lot of people are seeing Project Keir as anything centre left, or what you would call soft left onwards, is a right winger. That's not how the right wingers see it. The right wingers in our party have a far more, if you look at what they're doing, they're hugging Keir tight, okay? Because they understand Keirism isn't really a firm project. And there's an opportunity which they are taking with both hands to try and shape it.
Right.
And we have a choice on the left. Do we engage in that project, that soft left project, and try to make it as left as possible? Or do we stand back on the lip of the tomb of the left and throw rocks at the Keir project and watch as the right come in, win the arguments, win the positions, take over? And then you know what? It won't be a soft left leadership we'll be facing. It will be a centrist right wing leadership that we're facing, who rows things back and then does begin a witch hunt. And so my point is this: we've got a choice to make. We can fall out with issues, but we need to get behind our own party. We have to get behind our own party. If Keir didn't win, then some of the other potential candidates who could have won, I'm not going to name names, we would be in a far worse situation. So my message to the left is, let's change the culture of how we talk to each other, how we can disagree without calling names and throwing rocks at each other, and understand my community, my constituency here, it needs a Labour Party that is going to speak up for it, because there's a shitstorm coming down the road, an economic recession the likes we haven't seen for centuries. And that's going to unleash all kinds of horrible things, from unemployment, poverty, homelessness, because we've got this government, to racism and every other kind of ism. So we as a movement have got to sort ourselves out. So my point is this: the last thing I'll say now is make a conscious decision to engage constructively. That's it. That's it. Done. I finished. Then you can ask me another question.
Well, I wanted to make a point that, I mean, I'm not particularly left or right. I am, I suppose, a socialist, but I would say that the main thing I joined the Labour Party for in 2010 was that I knew there was an austerity agenda from the Tories and Cameron and Osborne, and now we're going to see the same scenario of this, what you called shitstorm, becoming another case where they can bring in austerity and they can make the cuts and they can hurt the poorest. And Labour must, at this stage, at the very beginning of this process, start saying, no, we don't hurt the poorest. And
my point is, how do we do that? How do we best achieve that? Do we best achieve that? Because I guarantee you, if this group and others just stay angry, I promise you, people don't like angry. It's okay for a while, but very soon people will start doing this and they will start taking a side shuffle away, because people like positivity, and there is positivity in I'm not saying this group isn't positive. I'm not, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying there is something that if we just want to be angry and shouty, and I don't think that's going to achieve our objectives. I think what we have to do is be critical friends of this leadership, try and shape it. And that's a difference of strategy. There are going to be some on the left that do not want to do that. They will want to be oppositionalists, opposition. That's fine. I have no issue with that. That's their choice. But there will be some on the left who want to try and constructively engage in this and shape it, rather than letting it go off to the right, to Blue Labour, wherever it is that some people in our party want it to go. And that's what this is about, how we do that.
Yeah, but what we saw between 2010 and 2015, we had Ed Miliband, we had people on the left saying, like John McDonnell and others, I suppose you as well, and saying we can't carry on making these cuts that are killing disabled people. And then we had people like Ed Miliband and the people all around him just saying, no, this isn't going to win us the election. But we've got to win the election.
Yeah,
and
we have.
About how we have to be gentle with them.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
So we have to be soft. I'm not quite sure.
No. I'm not saying soft. I'm saying. I think we've lost as a party the ability to be able to disagree without it turning into a personal attack. That's a difference between going easy on people. It's when I say to someone, I call into question this policy on these grounds. Now, that couldn't happen under New Labour, because MPs that did that basically got shot over into the camp. That was it. We can do that. And I think there's a difference now between where this party could go and where it is. And I think there is a role for us as those on the left to engage in this party and to constructively try to move things forward and agree to disagree and say, but this is what we're going to say. This is what we think. This is what we believe. We're going to try and shape policy. We're going to try and build that space. And do you know the other thing I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure that I'm involved with that rent union to make it as successful as possible, because I understand that politics isn't just defined inside Parliament, it's also the political space that we as activists make outside. And I want Labour to move into that political space. It's not just what happens. That's sometimes the mistake that kind of soft left, I think, shadow cabinets make, that they sit on the where they think the comfortable the zone is. We can make political space to help them move into that, but we've got to engage. And I think if we just attack, then they switch off and we're not listened to. So I think it's about trying to shape where the Labour Party goes next. That's my personal view, obviously.
All right, well, it's been really good to talk to you. You don't hang back on your opinions. It's really good. You should be doing these all the time.
Oh well, I will. Well, yeah, I talk too much.
We'll do a comedy one next time where you don't, where there's no, you know, I don't know, anything intense or whatever. So we can all relax and just eat hummus or whatever. Anyway.
That'd be nice. I'd like to relax one. That'd be good.
All right. Well, look, we'll catch up with you again, Clive.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Right, because what we've got now is we're going into the to this section of the show that many of you are here for, which is the clash of the CLPs, and we have today our second heat involving Liverpool Wavertree and Windsor. And to start this clash of the CLPs, we are going to start with none other than Wavertree, and I would like to speak to Sophie in Liverpool.
Hello.
Hello, Sophie.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
Can you see and hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that you're a poet as well as a member of the Labour Party.
Yeah.
Would you perform some of your after you've had a drink, obviously?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. Okay, so this is called Project Hope, and I wrote this about 2 weeks into lockdown. Project Hope. A system simple enough for robots to operate is simple enough to overthrow. Locked up, locked in for the lockdown. Enough's enough, and we've got to see it now. Got to shout out instead of turning to our screens to see our own stories. Kick off your shoes, flow south to your roots. Be happy and don't you worry, because I know this is ridiculous. Manipulated the ambiguous. Now look what's forming. Democracy. You see, that can't be embedded within upper echelon hypocrisy. I know the monotony gets boring, but at least we know the script. Dominoes of realizations dawning. At least we can flip what you said because we're not ignorant. You're not innocent or in bliss, you're haunting. Kids standing up to tell us how this finishes. Memoir of a childhood, mere glimpses that embody this belligerence. Truth, bringing out the glitches in the system. As the legitimacy of greed diminishes, the victims will rise to build the resistance. Utopia is always in the distance. If you dream, she said, you'd be disappointed, but we're not the only dreamers, though even alone we always had the bravery to confront it. There was always more believers. Can you see through the eyes created that a change is going to come? Is this the state of play where the war against the war could now be won? When the contradictions of the greed and hate so plainly now deceive us, but essential workers embody the notion that your kindness is not a weakness. So when the spotlight's off, when the curtains close, will we still clap for them outside our homes, in the ballot box, in the party polls? Will we see that love? Can I live in hope? Hold the summit in your mind. Remember it from time to time to indicate direction, denote imperfection and initiate correction. This is not brain surgery. This is just progression. We stand on the shoulders of giants that we climbed, digested every stimulus to envisage the meaning that's behind. George the poet already said, it's so obvious it's offensive. Solidarity and disenfranchisement created through his words and my comprehension, the power of a pen and the heart inside a sentence. We don't run on the fuel of our cars or the bullets of our henchmen. We don't stand in violence. We rise for humanity's repentance. What if we said in chorus, we don't want a war, we're just fighting for redemption, that we only wanted safety and were sick of the deception? An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, so I'll look into yours if you look into mine, brazen light. Take my sight from before, lift the veil of the tabloid, brighten, restore. We don't believe in drip down economics, infinite growth, or privatization anymore. Sorry, I've lost my thread. You make Bupa's bed, but you recovered in an intensive care unit run by the NHS, stood on a plinth with a message to save it. Though the statue of a destroyer is seen to be courageous, it now looks like the society slaughtered is resurrected in truth. We are all biologically connected. That's me and that's you. In an attempt after your negligence to stop the virus spreading, we stay at home and watch your symbols fall through the place where they once stood at a time we need protection. Even if you resign, the blood's still on your hands. I wouldn't have it on mine. Operating framework for managing to pandemic influenza, dated 2017 in the month of December. 2 years before COVID-19 onto our consciousness would enter, focused on getting Brexit done to expose the public health crisis and national security agenda. You act like you want to close your borders and protect us with walls, but you were the hazard, not Corbyn after all. I don't give a damn where the virus is from. You weren't prepared or punctual, now the damage is done. Your economic policy is your alliance to the Treasury. This public health crisis, 140,000 deaths from austerity. DWP estimation of benefit fraud set at £2 million. So can someone in your party tell me why the ATOS contract took 400 million from hard-working families' mouths? And where's the PPE and ventilator stockpiling we're in need of now? This is the virus of the voiceless, so I'm speaking to you. Be the unmoved object as justice pace the landscape you view. When we are allowed to stand together again on the streets, will you stand with me or do I fall in defeat? Thank you.
Wow, thank you very much. That was a really amazing, long, epic poem that I was told by, I'm just going to get Nina in. Nina, are you there?
Hi, yes, I am.
Nina, you said Sophie'd written a poem, and I thought it would be some sort of sonnet, but this was...
Oh, no, I said a rap poem.
Well, it is a rap poem, but it was one hell of a poem.
It is. It says it all, doesn't it? It says it all. Yeah.
And Nina, you're the chair of Wavertree.
Yeah. Yes,
how long have you known about Sophie's talent?
Oh, probably 2 or 3 years. She performed another one of her poems at our summer social last summer, and it was just totally, I was knocked out by it, actually, as was everybody else.
And Sophie, how long have you been writing poetry then?
Since I was about 15, so I'm 27 now, so that's like 12 years. I started getting into more like rap kind of stuff when I was about 17, because I just thought if you rap, you get to say a lot more in a smaller time frame. So wow. the kind of folk music was good, but I wasn't able to get across what I wanted to say.
And is that you've just finished that poem, or is it something you've written? I mean, obviously it's during lockdown, but I
wrote it about, I think it was finished about 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, something like that. At least 2 weeks ago, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm sure everyone enjoyed it, and I think Windsor will be feeling a bit uncomfortable with the talent that you've put out there. But we have to see what they've got. So, Nina, good to see you. I did a gig in Wavertree actually a year to the day ago, apparently, because I saw on Facebook.
Oh, was it? I hadn't realised that. Yeah.
And I have to say, what a lovely CLP you have there. And what have you been doing during lockdown?
Well, we're doing the best we can to stay connected with our members, to engage our members in the politics of this crisis. And one of the big things we've been doing is putting out a weekly bulletin which Kevin, who's here, our secretary, puts together, full of blogs and articles, videos, all kinds of stuff to get people discussing all the different aspects of the politics, what the Tories are doing, what different people's positions are on what's going on at the moment. It's really working well, and it's a brilliant bulletin, a weekly bulletin. We've also contacted, or we've got 1,800 members. Couldn't tell you how many are over 70, but we did ring everybody who was over 70 straight after lockdown, just to see, did they need anything? Did they just want to chat? You know, because this isolation really hits some people very hard. So we've been doing that kind of stuff. We've done some very practical stuff like collecting clothing and toiletries for asylum seekers, women asylum seekers who've arrived in Liverpool, still coming into Liverpool, even through all this, often with nothing but what they stand up in. So we made some collections and donated stuff. So we've been doing a mixture of political education and practical things. And on Tuesday, we're having our first CLP Zoom meeting because we want to discuss the situation of the Liverpool budget crisis, which you may or may not know is...
No, I'm just thinking about time. I might have to move on because...
Yeah, I'll stop there. There's plenty
I appreciate you giving us that detail. Helen Dickson, are you there?
Yeah.
Tell us what you're up to during lockdown. What have you been? You've been helping people in a different way.
Well, I've been, as Nina said, trying to keep in touch with our women members because I'm the women's officer, and so sending out regular emails, women's forum news, as we can't meet in our women's forums anymore at the moment, and that's included articles and petitions and things like that on Save Liverpool Women's Hospital information, and keep our NHS public stuff like that the women's forums have been involved in before. But there was one particular letter I got back from one of our members who said she was involved in a thing called For the Love of Scrubs, which is a project locally in Liverpool where different, mainly women, have started dealing with particular hospitals across Liverpool, and the ones she was dealing with were Aintree and Walton, and they collect money for material and then sort out who can do sewing, who can do pattern cutting. And she said she had 70 women, although it wasn't exclusive to women, making scrubs because they're much needed with the lack of PPE and people having to wear more scrubs. And for example, mental health nurses who normally would wear their own clothes having to wear scrubs. And so I think that's more or less drawn to a close because enough scrubs have been made for the moment, but it's been a good campaign. And another main one that we focused a little bit on was there's been an increase in deaths of women, mainly in lockdown. There was usually generally the average femicide is 2 a week, and during this it's gone up to more than twice that amount between the 23rd of March and the 13th of April. And there's a letter going to Priti Patel and what's his name, Robert Jenrick, which we've put that out far and wide, and got people to sign up to that to try and make some changes and get some funding for there to be refuges for women who are suffering from domestic violence to be able to go into immediately. And those things as well, I've been contributing them to the bulletin that Kevin sends around, because that goes to all our members.
Well, thank you, Helen. I'd love to speak more, but I've got to move on. Minnie, are you there?
Hi. Yeah, I'm here.
how are you doing? What are you doing during lockdown, Minnie? I've heard that you've been up to something as well.
Really busy. I've been contributing to the bulletin, written a couple of articles for it. One called Grave and Craven Situation, where I wrote that, you know, goodness me, it's going to be a long time when we're through this. But even before we're through it, we need to be thinking about politics, thinking about our future, socialism. So I've been highlighting the Labour Left Alliance webinars, which Kevin has been talking about Labour history, and there's a discussion there every Thursday night with extra ones on a Tuesday, so you can go to the Labour Left Alliance website for that. I've been looking at Searching for Socialism, TWT, so I'm watching that. I believe there's been some good webinars on Jacobin. I'm working full time for the GMB Union, so as you can imagine, I'm a secretary there. We're getting so many calls from members who are worried about furlough. Are they getting 80%, 100%? Is it going to go down? They're on less than the minimum wage because they're already on a low wage. And is that legal? And actually, unfortunately, if people aren't working, the answer to that is it's legal, unfortunately. Also, people in vulnerable positions. So I've got an office upstairs in my little terraced house. People in vulnerable positions who are thinking about their safety. We've got a PPE campaign. We're also, making people aware. Obviously, we don't want people to go back to schools. We're making people the big campaign on that, joint union initiatives. We want to make people aware of the health and safety, Section 7 of the Health and Safety at Work Act, and Section 44 of the Employment Rights Act, where workers have the legal right to remove themselves from the workplace if they feel their health and safety is being put at risk. Also, because I'm not going to work at GMB Union, I miss my fellow workers, obviously. I'm getting to explore the local area more. We've got a wonderful park across the road from these terrace streets. Wavertree, the name, we've got so many trees in Wavertree. And I've renamed, I discovered a part of the park in spring. I've renamed it Blossom Alley because it has the most beautiful pink and white blossom trees. Just so lovely walking through there in the morning. On my way from work, I left the house, went for a walk on the way to work, came back to the house. And I used to do that quite a lot in the morning, so that was wonderful.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm just worried about the time. What I wanted to say that it's great in a way that lockdown has been in spring and not in the middle of winter. Do you think so?
I think so too, because when you finish work, I mean, we've got a little yard here. When the sun's shining, I can go out in the yard, or I can walk into town because it's dangerous going on buses at the moment. We don't have a car. I can walk into town, and actually get the shopping, and my fellow comes and meets me on the way back. But one thing I did want to highlight is one of the things that on the Wavertree Bulletin about 3 weeks ago was Boris Johnson speaking on 3rd of Feb, his speech in Greenwich, where he basically said, we are free to exchange our health for the free market. So Tory Fibs, a Twitter account, tweeted that. It's absolutely disgusting. And obviously we need to be thinking about our futures, our socialist futures. As workers, we organise, plan, produce the goods, we run the systems, we run the supermarkets, we run the factories. We are organised. We need to think about, what's the top table going to do? Take us back to austerity? They're already talking about a pay freeze for the public sector. Now, we don't want just a few crumbs for key workers from the top table. We want to run, we need to realise that we're already workers, we're already running things. And when I say realise, I don't mean that in a patronising way, I mean realise it.
Right. Okay, well, thank you, Minnie.
Thanks.
And I'm sorry I have to move on again. We've got Alex Scott Samuel, are you there?
Yes, hi Crispin, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. And I believe that you have written there's another poet in Wavertree CLP, and you are the other poet, although there's probably more actually, but you're one of many.
I'm not a habitual poet. In fact, I'm a retired public health doctor, but I love poetry. And I used to run poetry readings at the Bluecoat Centre in Liverpool. And I've been keeping a very close eye, obviously, on the way that the pandemic has happened in Liverpool. And I've got very strong views on it. And I've been very sad to see the way that it's been handled. And this poem, it's really an elegy, a short, sweet elegy, just came to me the other day. So shall I go for it?
Yeah, please do, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's called In COVID Town. 2 care workers died today in COVID town. No tests to check their virus load in COVID town. So doctors could not certify this dread disease from which they died. No friend or family by their side in COVID town. PPEs in short supply in COVID town. Treat coughing, fevered elders with no mask or gown. The virus spread around the place. No chance for frail old grandma facing death through government disgrace in COVID town. Stay home, protect our NHS in COVID town. While Downing Street creates distress in our town. No kit supplied, no GPs visit homes where people in exquisite pain are facing death again in COVID town. The empty streets, the empty parks of COVID town. The lockdown came too late for us in COVID town. The politicians' lies each day just kill more people. Now we say it's time to make the guilty pay in COVID town, UK.
Thank you, Alex. It's a very moving poem. I'm going to move on to. Thank you again, Alex. Sorry, I'm a bit taken aback by your poem. Paula Barker, are you there?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for coming in to the chat.
Thanks for inviting me.
Paula is the MP for Liverpool Wavertree. Can I hear you all? No, you can't hear them. Sorry, they're all muted. They're all muted. But it's good to see you. I haven't met you before. I did a show in Wavertree last year, and I love the CLP. And obviously, just listening to the members there, all the work they're doing, and also the poetry, the talent they've got. I mean,
yeah,
it's a really difficult time to be in, but people are applying themselves in good ways. And what's your experience as an MP just coming in fairly recently to hit this coronavirus issue?
Yeah, I mean, well, the first thing I'll say is that, Wavertree CLP is fantastic, and it is undoubtedly the best. I'm sorry, Windsor, I know you're fantastic too, but Wavertree just pips it, I'm afraid. We've got incredibly talented, dedicated people in our CLP. And it has been literally a baptism of fire. I mean, it's the place I was born, so I'm really privileged to represent the community that I was born in. So that's the first thing to say. But to come in as such a sort of precarious time politically has been extremely challenging. But in our city of Liverpool, you'll know yourself, Crispin, that we come to the fore when our back is against the wall, and you really see the solidarity and the commitment of our city. And that's what's really, really positive about this, and all the incredible work that the CLP have done in keeping our community together. And my own team, who have been fantastic, who's a very new team, and it's difficult for any team to come together, in the first few months. But when they're working in their homes and they don't have that sort of time to gel within the community base, that's been hard, but they've really risen to the challenge, and I'm so proud of the work that they're doing too.
Yeah, and what's your? I mean, now you're here. What's your perspective on this rent arrears that people may have to pay back according to Labour's policy? I mean, are you against that, or how do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I'm completely opposed. I've worked quite closely with Acorn Liverpool for some time now, and I've written to them, and they've published my letter. They have my full support and commitment on this. I've also written to Thangam, and I've also written to Keir Starmer as well to outline my disappointment really about some of the language that's been used and the change in policy. Jeremy wrote to Boris on the 18th of March calling for a rent suspension. And I think one of the things that we have to be clear about is, Clive mentioned before, that there's a whole raft of difference between landlords. We have lots of, we've got landlords at the top of the tree with multi houses, etc., who are making an awful lot of money. Then we've got right down to maybe the person who owns one property and that's their pension. Now, what I'm saying about that is that they can ask their mortgage providers for mortgage holidays. And, you might argue, well, there's an increase in terms of interest rates and stuff. But we are the Labour Party. We are the party of working class, and we should be completely unashamed of that. We must help the most vulnerable people in society. And about 30% of people rent in Liverpool. We've got to start saying that we will protect those people. And I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that those who continue to work through the COVID crisis and can afford to keep on paying rent should have all the rent wiped out. I'm saying that those people who are adversely affected, and there are many, then we should be the party who are standing up for them, standing shoulder to shoulder with them and offering them hope.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's very good to hear that you've got that. You've made all that work as well. You've written to Keir Starmer and to Thangam. So now look, I'd love to talk to you for more, but I realise that I'm already running late and I haven't even talked to you once. And I hope you can come on again, because it's lovely to talk to you and hear what you're doing.
I'd love to.
And maybe after this is all over, we can go up to Wavertree again and do another show.
That'd be great.
You'd
be very welcome.
It was a good venue.
The Devonshire House Hotel, yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Good socialist owners.
Oh yeah, that's why it was a good hotel. That's the reason.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paula.
Cheers.
I'm going to move on now to Windsor, because I feel as though we are about half an hour over already. Oh my God. So what we have, Windsor have sent in as their musical feature, a video that they made with all the members of a Robb Johnson lyric about Windsor. So let's hear Windsor's first entry to the Eurovision Song Contest, possibly. Here we go.
Hi everyone, hi Liverpool. This song is about our most famous neighbour. This is one of our houses, which actually has a Slough postcode. That will actually qualify what the song is all about. Yeah.
Thanks to Robb Johnson for the lyrics. We hope you enjoy our song from Windsor CLP and friends. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, she lives in Slough.
God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, she lives in Slough.
It's by the motorway, just a stone's throw away from where the refugees all stay. She lives in Slough.
She's just like you and me, with a Porsche lavatory. She lives in Slough.
Tourists and tyrants know it's handy for Heathrow. She wears a hat and says, "Hello, what do you do?"
She lives in Slough.
She's just like you and me, with a posh lavatory. She lives in Slough. Tourists and tyrants know it's handy for Heathrow. She wears a hat and says, "Hello, what do you do?" She lives in Slough.
And though she owns Balmoral and her income's immoral, she lives in Slough.
She probably likes the view and a good sagaloo. She voted for Keir Starmer too. She lives in Slough.
Not really used to doing this sort of thing, so I've had a look in here to see what the PPE requirements are, and it's just not clear. So I'm going to have to do a bit of experimentation as we go. So this is the
Right, I'm going to bring in Alison now, who is the Secretary of Windsor. Hello, Alison.
Yeah, hi.
Hi, yeah, I've just cut that short because I'm going to bring back Bob a bit later. What I wondered is you've got lots of people from other constituencies around you there. Are you saying that they all moved to Windsor now?
Oh, they probably like to live in Windsor.
But what's the story? You get them all they all come to your CLPs, do they?
Yeah, a lot of them do. So when we took over, so my partner's the chair, he's here too, Angus, and I as secretary, we found the meetings quite boring. A lot of the feedback was, these meetings drag on and, we just talk about the same issues and things like that. So we changed the format, and the first half of our meetings, we get a guest speaker in. So we've had all sorts of different speakers, obviously with some sort of political theme. We've had like the Cuba education people in, and we've had Peter Stefanovic and, all sorts of different people. And so the first half of the meeting, we open up to other local CLPs. So they come along, say Beaconsfield, Slough, sometimes Reading, and, as far afield as Newbury and Bracknell. So they actually come along to our meetings as well, because we make them fun and interesting. And then they leave, or we meet in a pub, so they leave or go to the bar, and then we do our business meeting, and then sometimes we meet up afterwards. So
and Windsor's been a Conservative seat since was it 1346?
Oh, maybe. Yes, we have a very strong Tory majority, even though we have a completely useless Tory MP. He's known as Absent Adam Afreya. In fact, I think he's currently waiting to have a court case for some sort of bankruptcy issue. So, yeah, he's a charming chap.
Well, is it a bit like a Tory would get elected there, even if they went naked around the town and?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You could say you could put a donkey in a blue rosette, and they'd probably win. Yeah.
Donkey in a rosette. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But we did double our vote in 2017, so we were really pleased with that. That was really good. We reckon probably another couple of weeks we might have done it even better, but we didn't do so well in 2019 because the Lib Dems and their pie charts or whatever they were, graphs, they're
fake graphs,
yeah, they just fake news and all that. They said they were going to beat us, and they did actually, so that was unfortunate. Brexit thing probably. So yes, but we still try.
Well, I know there's lots of CLPs that are seen as unwinnable and whatever, and I'm in one of them, but I think it's still good that there's a community of Labour members who can go out and meet up and do good things. And I'm going to move on to Laura and LIssy.
Hi.
What have you been up to during lockdown? You've been doing good things. We've heard from Liverpool Wavertree, they've been helping in many ways. What have you been up to?
Well, we've had a lot of time on our hands because I'm now unemployed due to this, and Lissy's off school. But we've been part of a group that's looking to set up a community group using a building that's otherwise just sitting vacant. It'll have like a climate theme to it, so it'll have like a repair centre, but it'll be a place that lots of different community groups can use. So we've had plenty of time to be doing research on that with our group, so that's probably the thing that we're most excited about. And also thinking to the future, you know, if local community things were underfunded before, we fear that they're going to be even less funded going forward after this. You know, where will money be taken from? So yeah, that's what we've been putting our time and effort into.
So that, I mean, that Windsor Council, weren't they saying get the homeless off the street? Was that like a year or two ago? They had that thing, they were embarrassed by, they didn't want to help the homeless, they just wanted to get them out of sight. So
it
don't sound particularly helpful to those in need. So,
yeah, definitely. That was an awful thing. I think it was during the time of the royal wedding. They didn't want tourists and Americans coming over and seeing, you know, homeless people on the golden streets of Windsor. So yeah, it was pretty horrific. Actually, the group, because we're on the borders of Surrey here, the group that we're setting up is actually just over the border. It doesn't come under Windsor, but yeah, they're probably equally as unhelpful.
and how are you finding it? You're at school normally.
Yeah, I really hate like doing the online lessons. It's so boring and it's so hard to focus. But I'd still rather wait until it's safe to go back to school. And I just can't stress enough how much the government needs to listen to the unions, because they're the people who are actually teachers, who are actually in the schools. I just can't stress enough how much they need to listen to the unions.
Yeah, as much as you want to get back.
Yeah, I want to be back. I want to see my friends. I way prefer lessons in school time, but I cannot stress enough how much we need to listen to the unions.
Oh, thank you for that, and thank you for both coming on. I'm going to move on now to Bob, who we are. Are you there, Bob?
Hi, Crispin.
Now I cut the video short because you were just about to start on it. No, that's not why I cut it short, because you're about to start on it. But I knew that you were coming on. I wanted to play your bit on its own. So I'm just going to do that so everyone can see what your contribution was to this video.
First part. God save our gracious Queen, long live our noble Queen, she lives in Slough. It's by the motorway, just a stone's throw away from where the refugees all stay, she lives in Slough. She's just like you and me, with a posh lavatory, she lives in Slough. Da-da-da-da, tourists and tyrants know it's handy for Heathrow. She wears a hat and says, hello, what do you do? She lives in Slough. And though she owns Balmoral and her income's immoral, she lives in Slough. Da-da-da-da. She probably likes the view and a good sagaloo. She voted for Keir Starmer too. She lives in Slough. I thank you. And remember, he's our only hope.
Bob, so how many masks have you got there? You've got quite protective stuff. Are you distributing this? Are you sharing it?
Well, I wouldn't actually want to inflict my masks on anybody. I think that might pollute them.
And are you're in Ascot, is that right?
Yeah, Ascot. It's the definition. Ascot Labour is a definition of hope over expectation.
What's the highest vote anyone's got in Ascot?
Well, we have actually got a couple. I mean. We're part of Windsor CLP, and I think I just had a quick look at Wikipedia, and we go back to 1707, and we haven't had a Labour MP since 1707, so we're buggered basically.
And have you had a councillor in Ascot, a Labour councillor?
We've got some parish councillors, in Ascot. They're all independents.
Oh, you
But
haven't
they're
got a Labour one.
well, they're independents, but members of the Labour Party. Most of the parish
declare
council.
themselves Labour. The only way they can get elected is to pretend they're not Labour.
You might wish to think that. I couldn't possibly comment.
Well, that's that. So, but you spoke up for Keir Starmer at the nomination meeting. I heard.
No. Can I just clarify? I spoke on Keir Starmer. We checked the rules very carefully. At the nomination meeting, you can speak on a person. And basically, my point is that he may commit to left-wing policies because he wouldn't get elected as leader if he didn't. But if you look at so much of his history, you look at his backers, I don't trust him. I think he will lead the Labour Party to victory. But whether it will still be with socialist policies, I don't know.
What I'm trying to say is, just to clarify what my question was to anyone else, is there was a nomination meeting for who the leader would be, and you said you'd speak on Keir Starmer, and you then spoke and then said don't vote for Keir Starmer after you started talking about him. I've never heard of that way round where you can actually kind of speak against the person you're nominating, but you sound like you have a lot of fun in Ascot, even if you don't have a Tory MP. You don't have a Labour MP, you've only got a Tory. I'm going to move on now because we've got hardly any time before the comics start giving me grief. Hassan.
Hi, Crispin.
Good to speak to you. Now, you've got a very interesting story because you're in Windsor constituency that includes the school of Eton.
Yes, it does.
And you are an Eton student and also a Labour supporter. Wow, it's quite a story.
I'm not the only Labour supporter in Eton, by the way. If that, I found that quite surprising, but we checked the membership list, and there's quite a few staff and a few students.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And what's it? So when you're in Eton, do you actually talk about this, or do you keep it quiet?
Talk about my activism and stuff. It turns out that the entire school knew about like my Labour activism before I even joined the school. So when I got there, I was kind of the talk of the school for a few months. People were kind of surprised and shocked that a working class kid could be political and have a voice. But I'm there to show them that that's exactly the case, and they're not the only ones who can change the world.
And how have you got into any hot water for saying anything that Eton wasn't happy with?
Well, so 3 weeks into my time at Eton, it was Labour conference last year in September, and I went to the conference and then we voted to abolish private schools. So I got back and there was a lot of talk about, oh, Hassan, why are you coming to our school if you want to close it down? You're communist, you need to get out of here. You want to chop our heads off and everything like that. I don't know, like I feel like there's an obligation on me to like carry myself higher than they do. Like I don't want to resort to abuse and like disrespect, because I want to show them that we're better than that. And I think that's getting through, because even during the election, we had an election hustings in Eton College, and I had to do the hustings for Labour because I was like the only person who would want to do it in front of everyone, who wasn't afraid of being bullied or whatever. Not that there is a lot of bullying, but like there is definitely a sort of like microaggression towards people like me. But I had to do it against people who are much older than me, and I still think I did all right, because people afterwards did come to me and say, oh wow, it's actually so refreshing to see someone stand up like so passionately for what they believe in, regardless of what others think about them.
So how do you feel about the Labour Party at the moment? You've only got about 15 seconds, by the way.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about the Labour Party at the moment?
I think I just have to say that people's anger is justified, and that the talk of unity, that shouldn't mean that people can't voice their opinions on policies that affect us. I feel like we're the party of the working class, and we represent the working class. So we need to be pushing for those policies. And for people to say that we can't be angry is quite disrespectful, I think. Yeah, I think that's one of the main things. But also in terms of lockdown, like we're all being asked what we're doing. But I think it's also perfectly fine for people not to be doing much. Like you shouldn't feel like you have to be doing anything right now. We're living through a pandemic. Like that in itself is so extraordinary, and like just surviving and getting on, I think is the most important thing. I'm like, me personally, I haven't done much apart from my virtual school, but I've just been making sure that my family and my friends are all okay and just checking in. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Hassan. Sorry I haven't got more time to
That's all right.
talk to you. I'm already running really late. And I was going to speak to, I'm going to speak to him now just to talk to Alan Thomas. Oh. Alan? No.
Hi.
Hi, Alan.
Hi there.
Hi, Alan. I was going to play your music today, but I'm afraid we've really run out of time. So I'm just going to ask you, is it okay if we bring you back on another show later on?
Absolutely fine. Yes, I'll just rely on the royalties. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, it would be great if you could come back on, because it's just I don't want to overdo it. And I'd like to give your actual performance more time. So
that's very kind of you. Thanks.
Do that again.
Crispin.
Right, thank you. Because now every week for the past 2 weeks we've been running a little bit late, and I'm worried that the comedians that this show is really to support in some way, because they don't get any live work, that they're all going to jump away and say not doing these shows anymore. So I'm just hopeful that, for example, is Don Biswas there?
Hello, Crispin. Hello, everyone. How are you doing?
I'm great, Don. Are you still there? Well, it's good you're still there. And how's it been since we last spoke on Wednesday?
Well, I'm about to move house.
Really?
Yeah, next week I'm moving to whichever CLP you're hosting next week, so I'll get to speak earlier. I'm only kidding. I really enjoyed the show. I'll tell you what I've been up to. I managed to grab a copy of my local school newspaper, and on the front of it, it says, "Let Daily Mail journalists be heroes." And I think they should be heroes. And what I want is, on the 1st of June, for Daily Mail journalists to go back to school. Not to be teachers, they just need to be re-educated. And the weird thing is, it's really weird that the government want to open schools on the 1st of June, when for the last 10 years, they've done nothing but want to close the schools down. So it's really annoying. I'll leave you with one more final thing. I want to talk about Keir Starmer. I think he did absolutely great against Boris Johnson. I'm a lefty socialist. He did a brilliant job against Boris Johnson. My only problem is that his policies are not left-wing enough. And I'm a proud Indian and I'm a proud Hindu, but I think he's got it wrong on Kashmir. Because Jeremy Corbyn wanted observers, a humanitarian intervention, so people don't get persecuted. Now, I know persecution. My dad moved to England to flee persecution from India himself. Unfortunately, my mum managed to track him down. And one more thing, I think the reason why Keir Starmer is doing this, he wants to appeal to the 1.5 million Indians who live here. He wants to appeal to Labour Friends of India. He also wants to appeal to Labour Friends of Israel. Does he just want to appeal to countries beginning with an I? He's going to help the frozen food industry just so he can appeal to Labour Friends of Iceland. I've been Don Biswas. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. And Patrick, you're there.
Hello, Crispin. How are you doing? I was on two different things again. I keep doing it because on Saturday, I know that I don't have enough broadband to keep up with your 7-hour show, so I have to do it on my laptop and my iPhone. I love it. Everyone's on this, Crispin. We're on it. How are you?
So what? You had a really good checklist for last show.
Yeah. Well,
has anything changed since then?
Yes, a lot of things have. This weekend, what I'm doing is I've compiled a load of things that I'm sick of that companies are exploiting people now stuck at home during this extended lockdown. One of them, and I'm guessing a lot of people on here might have had these emails from DIY companies, loads of them have been emailing saying that now this is a great time to do your house during lockdown. And one of them, the questions they said is, have you thought about regrouting your bathroom tiles? I emailed back, I said I didn't even think about the colours of the bathroom tiles. I didn't even get a choice of it, mate. I didn't even know how to regrout like this. And then it was amazing, like this DIY company, I can't name them in case we get sued allegedly, but they put out a survey and it said, what would you change most about your house during lockdown? 50% of people replied back saying their children. The other 50% said the parents. So I don't think this is, I'm not sure this is what the DIY companies wanted. The other thing was my partner has fallen into this. She started getting tester pots because she's stuck in the house. She's trying to paint the house. But I don't know if you know about this, but I didn't realise what was going on. I woke up one morning and there was like these little tester marks, you know, like where you get little bits on the wall. I thought we'd been invaded by the borrowers. You know, they're like little people just walking around painting little bits of the house. I thought we had poltergeist. The other, and let me tell you this, the other company that I'm sick of that are exploiting people, and I don't know if you've seen this, but it's clothing companies. They're all sending loads of these emails around going, we're having a big sale on clothes, if you want to going out clothes and all this. Nobody can go out. Nobody can go out. They're trying to sell us these clothes. There is a company called, I saw it first, I've seen the adverts all around town, and they've called it like this, Wear at Home Styles. That's what it's called, Wear at Home Styles. And I thought, who needs help with clothes to wear at home? Who is living in a house where or who's got a door policy to get in and out their house? Who's stood on their door going, I'm sorry, mate, you can't come in unless you're wearing Crocs and slippers? I mean, who needs help buying onesies and pajamas? Who is walking around their house during lockdown going, I've got skis on, I've got a wetsuit, and I've got a scuba diver helmet. I just need some help to change the styles of the clothes that I'm wearing. My partner does this though. I don't know how many people do this, but she dresses for bed, right? Which is absolutely ridiculous. She's one of these people that loves all these fashion, these clothes things. She gets Muji pajamas. You know, they're Muji. She'll wear like a Muji pajamas, and I always wear a pair of Umbro football shorts from FIFA 1996. And my partner always tells me, she said, why don't you just get a nice pajamas to wear? I said, what for? She goes, well, it's nice to dress for bed. I said, who's coming to our bed at night? I'd be more worried about who's suddenly popping up underneath the quilt when we're both there dressed for bed. And then she said, yeah, but if there's a fire, then we have to go out in the street. I said, are you telling me if we're stood in the middle of the street, right, you're wearing your lovely Muji pajamas, I'm wearing my Umbro 1996 FIFA shorts, do you think people are going to be looking at us or the building behind us that's on fire? Do you think that's going to be more? They're not going to be going, oh, them FIFA shorts, they look a bit old. Last thing, because I know you're panicking, Crispin, and you want to probably get on.
Do I look like it?
I tell you, there's another thing as well this week, which is really interesting, and I've got a feeling you've probably done this with your son, but loads of people now are buying jigsaws again. You know, like these board games are going through the roof, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think that's good family entertainment. But the problem is they are being exploited. Jigsaws now being taken over by a lot of celebrity culture. The biggest sales in jigsaws now are all by celebs selling these things. And I think this is awful because jigsaws were first invented in 1760 as an educational purpose. They were done for maps. They were done to teach children and adults about the world. And now we've got all these jigsaws, which are of people like Kim Kardashian, Made in Chelsea, Towie stars. They all look the same. They're all fake tanned. They've all got false lashes and false nails. And the problem is every jigsaw is exactly the same. Every piece is just orange. And every time you hold it, it just melts if it gets near light or it just flakes off with your fingers. It's all just as fake as them. It's highly flammable. So we've got to be careful.
Wow. You've got
Thank you.
Information there.
God bless you, Crispin. So I have got a lot more, but I'll leave it until Wednesday.
I'm not panicking, but I am running about half an hour late already. But
I know, I could tell.
Normally it's you that does that in the shows, but I'm doing it myself. You're quite well known for being on stage for quite long, aren't you?
Well, that is the thing, isn't it? You actually do. I missed that, the whole thing where when you're in a live audience, you've got that sort of thing where you're the same as we get carried away, don't we? Because then we'll do our stuff and then we forget that we'll chat to the audience as well and involve them. But I think with this Zoom thing, it works in our advantage because everyone is trapped at home and they're not allowed to leave the house. So it's almost like we're playing to hostages, which is the way that I love it.
Oh, that's great.
Nobody can leave.
Good way of seeing it. And look, she just got something off your shelf.
Yeah, that's Lily. She just takes that is. I was there. Come and say hello.
Hey, Crispin. Hi.
Hi, Lily. Oh, there's Susie as well.
Hi, Susie.
Look at this vegan.
Vegan AF.
Vegan AF. I'm not sure. Oh, right. Oh, is it rude? Oh, okay. Right.
No, yeah,
Okay.
I think I don't know what it means.
Yeah,
I think it means.
Right. I'm going to move on to Susie. Susie.
Hello. My friend had a T-shirt at Christmas that says "Jolly AF," so yeah, totally get that. A couple of things Patrick said stuck with me. When it was my mum's birthday a couple of years ago, Patrick, I got her Gareth Malone on a jigsaw in a heart because she loves him. You know, the choir guy. Yeah. I've sort of lost the sound for some reason. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I lost the sound. I couldn't hear Patrick. Yeah, and also as well, the thing about buying clothes in lockdown in March, when I was supposed to be going to India, a couple of weeks later, I bought this beautiful dress, £55. This beautiful, gorgeous summer dress, and I looked, and I haven't been able to wear it. Obviously, it's been wrapped up in the tissue in the bag, and I looked the other day on their website. It's now £27. So it was 55. So what I did, because I'm so clever, I bought it again online so I can take the original one back and get me £55 back. So that's my way of sticking it to the man and beating the system.
Wow.
And I checked, and I am allowed to take it back once lockdown's over. So I'll get my money back. Yay! I'm an actual genius, aren't I?
I think you are.
Yeah. And tomorrow it's my best friend's dad's 74th birthday, and he lives just up the road. So we're doing a bit of a walk past birthday celebration, and I'm going to wear the dress. So I've shaved just my ankle area because it's a long dress. So I've literally shaved my ankles today in preparation, because, you know, doing this is the only time I have a shower every week, right? Doing this show is the only reason. So I'm sad that you think that we're going to abandon you, Crispin, because this is my favourite part of the week. Honestly, apart from the Coronation Street 3 nights a week, this is the highlight, and it's the only time I put slap on and do my hair. And and I've met some nice people doing this as well, so you know, I'll never leave you. I'm sorry, you can't get rid of me that easily.
Oh, great.
I just very quickly, I know you're in a rush, but I've become obsessed with a couple of TV programs. Police Interceptors I've got on Series Link, which is amazing, and The Repair Shop and Money for Nothing. Do you know those shows? It's become my new favourite thing.
Money for Nothing, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, basically you go to the tip, and then this very attractive man called Jay with a gold tooth and a cap, who says "Core blimey" a lot, comes, and he's my new crush now because Nick Cotton's not replied to my tweet. So my new crush is Jay from Money for Nothing. So I thought either I can go to the tip in full makeup and a mask and wait, or I apply to The Repair Shop, which is the other show he's on, where they restore people's heirlooms and antiques. Have you seen it? It's such a lovely feel-good show. Honestly, people bring in stuff like today I cried over a chair, a gramophone and a lantern, and the people there are so lovely. And I thought, well, I could take in some items and that'll be my way in to meet him. So I've got a few things. I've got my old Dumbo toy. I've had Dumbo for 42 years and he needs his eyes drawing back on.
Oh.
Bless him. His eyes have been loved off. Yeah, it's called a recycling centre. Sorry, Luke. Luke's just chatted on a recycling centre, not a tip. At least I didn't say dump. That would have like no, but Dumbo's been loved quite a lot, so he could get restored. And that I used to carry Dumbo like a baby in this crochet blanket that my mum made, and that blanket's also been loved, so I could take that in as well. But if not, I've also got this Torval and Dean World Tour antique scarf from their World Tour in 1985, and this needs a little bit of love because for some reason a boiled sweet has got attached to the tassels there, so that needs a bit of restoring. So I could take that in as my antique, but failing that, if I do get desperate, I could always lop the handle off this Charles and Diana commemorative wedding mug and take that in. So that's going to be my next do you know this Torval D scarf? It's white, and I wear black quite a lot, and I realized when I was wearing like that I look like a rabbi. But yeah, that's my thing. That's my next mission is to try and meet Jay from The Repair Shop. So if anybody wants to tweet him and tell him I'm available, then
I might make him a question in the next quiz about who is it, and then it'd be an excuse to put his.
Yeah. Oh, can I just plug something? Tonight is Corona Vision on Facebook. It's the final, and my friend and Labour supporter Suze Kempner, she's very, very funny. She's representing Bulgaria tonight on Facebook at 10 p.m. in the Corona Vision final, and it's going to be lots of fun. She's representing Bulgaria, but she is from Horley in Surrey. So if you fancy that, tune in on Facebook. Just go on the Corona Vision page, and it'll be on there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susie.
Always nice. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Cheers. Now we've come to the part that many of you have probably tuned in for, which is the quiz of the week. And this quiz is the toughest quiz in the whole world, especially for Labour history. And the two contestants that we have from Wavertree and from Windsor are Kevin Bean from Wavertree. Are you there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Are you looking forward to this quiz?
Not at all.
Not at all. And you're a bit of a. I like your books. I like the books. I like the setting. It looks like you've read a lot. And now we've got Laura.
That's actually just wallpaper, so don't be fooled.
Laura's there. Laura from Windsor.
I'm here. Hi, Crispin.
Kevin, the bad news for you is that Laura won a heat of Mastermind in the last series. So there is a book. We've got a betting thing going on here. If you want to chat about it, I think Mark's doing the odds, and the odds are very highly in favour of Laura from Windsor, the former Mastermind heat winner.
But in fairness, I did do Star Trek as my specialist subject, so I don't think that's going to help me much today.
Star Trek and the Labour Party history, they're not very different. We've got the same sort of characters. You've got Spock, you've got, anyway, look, I'm going to start the quiz with an easy question. And whoever's the first to get it wins, that gets the point. Okay, the first question is, who is the longest serving deputy leader of the Labour Party? Who has been the longest serving deputy leader?
Margaret Beckett.
Kevin?
John Prescott.
Kevin gets that one.
Damn it.
Kevin has 1 point. Right, the next question is, we have plenty of picture questions. The next question is about Labour heroes, and these are people who were candidates in the 2017 general election, but because they lacked a bit of support from the main HQ, they did not win their seat, so they did not become MPs. Now, if you can identify any of these MPs, I'll just put them out, and if you can name them, then the first one of you to do it gets a point. Okay, here we go. Who is this?
Yeah.
Has anyone answered?
No.
No.
No?
No.
Yeah, I got that.
No one's answered?
No.
The answer is Joy Squires, who was standing in Worcester. I did a gig in Worcester and I met Joy, and you didn't get any joy. Now, the second question is another candidate who stood in 2017, and who is this?
Oh, God, no.
Yeah. She's not in Star Trek.
No. No.
No, sorry, Crispin.
You were right about the difficulty.
Mary Griffiths Clark, and she stood in Arthon, and it was one of the lowest defeats that Labour had. It was a matter of 100 or so votes. It was very low, and I did a gig for her as well. just before the 20th election.
Is there a connection here between them losing and you doing the gigs?
Now that might lose you a point there. That might lose you a point. But anyway, we'll carry on. We'll carry on. Here's another one. I met him, and do you know who he is?
Yeah.
I'll tell you where he stood in Calder Valley.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yes, no.
No?
Don't recognise him, no.
You could have Googled that one. That was my trick there. You could have actually Googled Calder Valley quickly. But anyway, his name is...
I can see on the chat, so I'm not going to cheat though. But yeah, is it Josh Glynn?
Yes, it is. But but
I did cheat. I'm going to be honest there.
I could give you half a point for that, but we're going to move on to something maybe a little bit easier, because you'd have to be a bit of an anorak or someone who goes around the country campaigning in seats that aren't your own, if you were to get those ones. The next question is probably the easiest picture question of the lot. Now, this is really for who's the quickest on the draw. Who is this?
George Brown.
Correct. Kevin gets that one. George Brown. He was a former deputy leader. He also had a very famous drinking problem, and was frequently plastered when he should.
But as the Times said, they would prefer George Brown drunk to Harold Wilson sober.
Oh well, there you go. That just goes to show how bad his drinking problem was. Now the next question, I'll give you a little clue on this one. There was an article written that has been shared quite a lot on social media about this man who is another Labour person from the past, and it was recently published, an article about him. So who is this?
Victor Grayson.
Oh,
he's gonna get it again. Kevin's got the third one. Right. Okay. So you know all about him. He disappeared after he revealed that Lloyd George was selling cash for honours.
Yeah.
There's some kind of coincidence that he disappeared soon after that, which is a bit dodgy. Now this is the last of the old Labour heroes. Is a particular favourite of mine. Yeah. I'd be interested to know if you get this. So here we are. This is the last one. He was the basis of a character in Our Friends in the North. He was someone who exposed corruption in the northeast.
Eddie Milne.
He's got it as well. He's got another one.
Well done, Kevin.
Kevin's got 4, but yeah, it's not all over yet. It's not all over. Don't give up hope, because there is more to come. We now have our 3 questions for each of you on your own constituency.
Oh my God, no.
So, who would like to start? Would you like to start, Laura?
Yes, please. Go on then.
Your questions are, the first question is, which king canvassed and donated funds to a candidate during a general election in Windsor?
George VI.
George III.
Oh.
Right. Now, during which, this is going to be too. I'll give you. I mean, I assumed. Right.
Go on, just do it. Go on.
Who caused animosity after the 1868 general election by evicting tenants who did not support him at the polls?
(1868).
Yeah. Are you looking at something on your...
No, I've just written 1868 on a blank bit of paper, and it's mirroring the blankness of my mind. I have no idea, Crispin.
Richardson Gardner. So after that, apparently, they all voted for him because he said he'd evict them otherwise. That's how they did it.
Okay.
And the final question is, which Shakespearean and film actor stood for the Greens in Windsor in 2019?
Oh my God, what was his name? We talked to him in the pub, didn't we, Alison? It was, oh, he's got a lovely voice. Oh, yeah, Finton McEwen.
Yeah. Oh, you see, she wrote it. Yeah. Finton.
I saw Finton McEwen. Yeah, he was great. He was great in the hustings against Adam Afiri.
I'll give you half a point because you had a drink with him.
Yeah, there you go.
Now
he's in Game of Thrones. I know that.
Oh, he's been in quite a few things. He's got his voice is he's got a good voice. He says Shakespearean trained.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, you've got 4 points, and you can increase your number here if you can answer these questions. Labour won the 1935 Wavertree by-election after the Conservatives' vote was split between a Conservative and an independent Conservative. Who was the independent Conservative?
No, I don't know. Sorry.
No? It's Randolph Churchill, the son of Winston Churchill. Right. Which future Conservative MP stood in Wavertree in 1997? Now a junior minister. I told you it was the hardest quiz on the planet.
I was looking at that the other day, but no, sorry, it's passed out of me. No.
Kit Malthouse.
Yeah. The London mayor or assistant mayor.
Yeah, he was. He seemed to move around a bit.
Yeah.
And finally, in which election did Labour achieve its largest majority in Wavertree?
2017.
Correct. Right. So you got 5. You got 5 right. So there's only one way you can get back into this, Laura.
I know.
The final round, which is the singing round.
No way! Nobody warned me about this.
And this
what the hell?
This is where you put it to a vote. Can we have what it was last week? What we did was we did Cher, a cover version of Cher, but it didn't seem that the people knew who Cher was. So what I'd like to ask now is, give us your best song from the shower that you might sing in the shower. And I'll start with Kevin, who's obviously feeling quite good because he's just got 5 points.
I don't sing. I haven't got a voice. Give me I can't sing. Sorry.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Can you sing that?
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way. That's all you're going to get.
I think you've got a good voice, Kevin. I don't think that was too bad at all. Now, Laura, do you have a song that you'd like to sing, or do you?
Well, I could go for. It's a slight variation, like I see a black door and I want to paint it red, and that's it. That's all you're getting from me. I have no voice whatsoever.
You don't want to go again. You don't want to try again. Okay, we're going to launch the poll now. Who gave the best singing performance? People have got a while to.
Even I'm voting for Liverpool.
Liverpool so far is winning, and Liverpool's got 72%. It looks like we've got. I think, yeah, Liverpool have now crossed over to the majority. They've got more votes than can be caught up with.
Well done, Kevin.
So, Kevin, you are the champion of the this round. So Kevin and Wavertree will be coming back to Clash of the CLPs quarter-final against Camberwell and Peckham CLP. So we'll see how that goes. Now, I'm going to have to speak to someone who's been waiting for a while on the loo, and he's just apparently he's got a bit of trouble with having children, but he's also trying to sort out the loo. So how are you doing, Boris?
Yes, thank you, Crispin. And Liverpool versus Windsor and Eton, that's a fixture I've never seen on the Paul's coupon. Never thought I'd see that one. So it went the way it was expected. But yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Crispin. I've been sent some questions this week because of my clarity last Sunday evening when I gave my message to people. Mr. Loeb of Chester asks, can a Scotsman living in England near the Welsh border drive for 45 minutes and then do a 20-minute jog round a park and meet a friend in a garden centre for coffee? The answer is yes, but don't tell Nicola Sturgeon. Right, next one. This week, Keir Starmer, you've been talking about Keir Starmer. Well, he was bullying me in the House of Commons. You know, he was sort of asking all these awkward questions, and I didn't have all my friends behind me to back me up, as it were. So what I decided to do was some research in Labour leaders, and I asked one or two previous post holders what advice they could give anyone looking to be Labour leader, so I could better understand them. And some of the responses I got were these. But I think it's very important, Boris, to realise that as leader of the Labour Party, you have to leave a legacy, so that in years to come, when your children look you in the eye and say, well, what did you do in the war, Daddy? You can say, I started it.
Yes, Boris, it helps to have a sense of humour, and I think you got a head start there. My friends in January said, let's hold a Burns night and Chinese New Year party together. We called it Chinese Burns night. I didn't want to go, but they twisted my arm. What you got to do is you've got to believe in policies that the ordinary people can get behind. You've got to stick to your policies, you've got to stick to your principles and show solidarity with all the working people. Jeremy did that. Jeremy told me that. The big one I want to say is I spoke to Keir and I said, come on, Keir, there must be something we have in common. I mean, you believe in high speed 2, HS2, don't you? Does that mean a high speed decongestion of our roads? And he said, no, Boris, it's a high speed decongestion of my nose. Thank you, folks.
Oh,
thank you, Wendy. Wendy in Brighton, she's still there.
Thank you, Boris. Thank you, Boris. We'll catch up with you on Wednesday again, will we?
Absolutely. Yes, we will. There's a bit more, but you know,
we'll go to that. So Rob, we've got there to the end of the show.
What an enjoyable afternoon it's been.
But I believe, because we're going to play a recording of you, because it doesn't come over very well live on Zoom. So we've got a recording, but the last show on Wednesday inspired one of the co-hosts here to give you the title of a song. Is that right?
Yes, it's like Sarah Woody said, I'm an activist at heart, and Mark said that'd be good for a song, and
so you wrote it.
I did, yes, yeah.
What an intro that is to the song, and I'm just going to play the song that was inspired by.
There's the minutes of the meetings and the motions to go through. Then it's any other business, but then it's what we're going to do about it. That's what really matters. Whether social justice starts. She's just an activist at heart. She's just an activist at heart. Officers and bureaucrats and white men in smart suits, unnecessary evils. Meanwhile, at grassroots, someone's getting organised, those match girls in the dark. She's just an activist at heart. She's just an activist at heart. La 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 la. And the bosses and the landlords, well, these are not your friends. The management and the Murdoch press, these are not your friends. Who eats all the apple pies? Who pulls the apple carts? She's just an activist at heart. 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 La 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 la. Just an activist at heart. She's just an activist at heart. She's just an activist at heart. She's just an activist at heart.
Fantastic, fantastic. And very cheerful, very chirpy, very upbeat.
Yeah, I thought I ought to do something a bit more cheerful for this programme.
Well, no, I mean, I love how you just it comes out as it comes out, and from obviously from seeing Sarah and hearing upbeat stuff, it makes you express that sentiment.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what you'll be like for the next song from this show.
Okay, I'll have a think about that.
Well, Mark might have an idea. I'll ask Mark.
Yeah, give me some guidance.
Let's see what Mark's got to say. Where is he? Is he there? Can't find him. Oh, he's at the top. Is he, Mark? Oh, there you are.
Oh, I'm here. I've just been told you tell you to shut up because we're going shopping.
Oh, okay. All right, well, that's a good. Is that a good title for?
Shut up, we're going shopping.
Shut up, we're going shopping.
All right, okay.
I'll see what I can do with that. Okay, all right.
So just before we shut up and go shopping, what we do at every show is, for those who haven't seen it, is we do half a minute at the end so you can say hello and goodbye to everyone that is on Zoom. And normally what happens is someone starts singing something like, "Oh, Jeremy Corbyn," and it emerges as the predominant cry. But we did have "Oh, Rebecca Long Bailey" last week. So let's see what happens with this week. So I'm going to unmute everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I'm sorry it's gone late again. We'll really try next time to not make it run so late. Thank you, everyone. Unmuted.
Arise, ye starvelings from
Windsor.
All masses arise, arise.
Secularism is essentially on its knees because of the pandemic.
Shopping.
Legitimacy, especially so when it's about public health. It's a very good question. Why doesn't in charge of the Labour Party is a
unites the human race. Oh, comrades, come round.
In terms of teachers.
The Labour hammer and sickle behind her. Thank you, Nina.
I think solidarity. There are more and more revelations of the way